it's also true that even when factoring in the cost or the emissions required to produce an electric vehicle, which for now are a little higher than gasoline vehicles, when you look at the emissions over time, electric vehicles absolutely win by a long shot. And as we're seeing, the cost and the emissions required to produce an electric vehicle are dropping rapidly over time. And we're going to get to the point where an electric vehicle is cheaper than a gasoline vehicle. So in 2022, we avoided releasing about 13 million tons of CO2, reduced manufacturing GHG per vehicle by 30%, and reduced water usage by 15%, despite massive increases in output. So we also made our factories safer, which is really important. So we track the injuries per person, and we believe at this point we are best in industry or have the lowest injuries per person. So. We're now actually quite a big company from a headcount standpoint. This is our direct employment number. So this does not count contractors. And for every manufacturing job, depending on how you count it, there are at least 5, sometimes up to 10 jobs created, because you got to look at the total supply chain, as well as all of the support functions. So, when you create a factory like this, you actually create jobs for teachers, lawyers, carpenters, electricians, and restaurants, and everything that's required to support a person at a factory. And this is why countries and states are so interested in having manufacturing facilities in their location. So anyway, it's a lot of people gainfully employed doing very useful things. We received 3.6 million job applications last year, so and once again, the top 2 most desired companies for engineers on Earth were SpaceX and Tesla. So, at the end of the day, the competitiveness of any given company is a function of where are the most talented people interested in working. That is the team that's going to win. In fact, I'd say this is generally the case. If you look at any given company and say, where are the most smartest, most driven people going to work, that company is going to win. So whether it's Tesla or any other company. We're also excited to announce our next-gen drive unit, which is a big reduction in silicon carbide. It's half the factory space. Notably, there are 0 rare earth elements required. So, yeah. And we're also changing to a 48-volt low voltage architecture in the car. So, yeah, this is a big deal actually. So the cars have been operating with 12-volt batteries for basically about a century. So for the first time in, I think, over 100 years, we're actually going to change from 12-volt voltage of outside of the drivetrain to a 48-volt architecture. And to first approximation, that means we need only about a quarter as much copper for in the car as would be needed for a 12-volt battery. So that's a big deal, because people are often worried about, is there enough copper? Yes, there is. So. And FSD beta is growing hyper-exponentially. So that chart is going to look like a wall, basically. And just a question for those in the room: how many people have tried out FSD Beta? Okay, great. So what do you think of the latest build? Right? So it's really getting to the point where it's, at least for me, when I drive around, it's several days between interventions. And I think we're getting to the point where there's really just one last piece of the system that needs to be a neural net, which is the planning and control function. And so we expect to have that last piece become a neural net, so it'll be end-to-end from video in to control out as a neural net. And yeah, so the thing to appreciate is it's not that full self-driving will be as good as a person. It will be much, much better, like a lot. Like over time, 10 times safer than a person. It's not even going to be a contest, frankly. So this is a really big deal. And I think some people realize it. I think you guys probably realize it. But being able to do a software update and have several million cars suddenly go from manual driving to autonomous, I think will be the single biggest asset value increase in history. So. The normal usage of a passenger car is roughly 10 to 12 hours per week, call it maybe an hour and a half per day. And when you drive around, you see lots of cars just parked in parking lots because out of the 168 hours in a week, they're using less than 10%, maybe 7% of the hours of the week a car is in use. But once it is autonomous, it can be used probably, I don't know, 50 hours a week, maybe more. So it is effectively a 5-fold increase in the value of a car overnight. I'm actually surprised that so few people realize this, or maybe they just don't believe it's real, but it is. So this is really an insanely big deal. We're also the largest EV maker in the world. So yeah, and I think that will continue. And while at the same time being the highest margin of any car maker in the world. Now, making electric vehicles profitably is hard, as illustrated by the difficulty of our competitors. A number of our competitors are making EVs at a significant loss. But we are not. We are actually making EVs profitably, and almost no one else is. This is hard. So. And I'd say for this, it's a massive credit to the Tesla team for, I can't tell you how hard manufacturing is. Like, you've probably heard me say that prototypes are easy, manufacturing is hard. And then manufacturing at scale with positive cash flow is excruciating. It's mega pain. But the Tesla team has done it. So. And as you can see, our free cash flow per year has been increasing steadily. So, you know, we're making good progress. I mean, it should be said that, and I've made some of these comments, that that interest rates make have a very big effect on the affordability of cars. So, the vast majority of people buy cars based on the monthly payment. So it's like how much is the monthly payment It's not a question of value for money. It's just, do they actually have enough money? Can they afford it? So for the vast majority of people, it's just, can they afford to pay the payment? As the interest rates increase and credit tightens, like it's safe to say that these various banks that have died are probably somewhat distracted from handing out auto loans. It's like if they're on their way to the cemetery, increasing their auto loan portfolio is not the first thing on their mind. So this is going to be a challenging 12 months. I want to be sort of realistic about it. Like Tesla is not immune to the global economic environment. I expect things to be just at a macroeconomic level difficult for at least the next 12 months. Tesla will get through it and we'll do well, and I think we'll see a lot of companies actually go bankrupt. So I want to make sure that this is not just the good news parade. It's important to understand that no company is immune to the macroeconomic environment. But that said, it won't be darkness forever. I expect probably a year of difficulty globally for everyone. And then my best guess is that the global economy turns around in roughly 12 months. And then Tesla will be in an extremely good position. So anyone who is a long-term investor, I think, will do extremely well. And here I want to give a big shout out to the Tesla internal software team. This is it's actually a really big deal that Tesla has such a powerful internal software team. I mean, that software team is responsible for handling the entire customer experience from buying the car, delivering the car, operating the factories, service and support. We internally wrote all of the insurance and financial software. The supply chain and logistics stuff, the data centers and infrastructure, and the analytics and insight. This is all internally written Tesla software. I think there are almost no companies in the world can do this because they do not have a very talented internal software team. So they're generally reliant on third-party enterprise resource planning software. But Tesla is not. This is a hidden strength of the company that often doesn't get a lot of attention, but is incredibly powerful. So once again, I'd like to thank them for their work. And as predicted, we are highly confident that Model Y will be the #1 best-selling car on Earth this year. And in fact, in Europe, the best-selling car of any kind, whatsoever. It already was that in Q1, I should say. It's not like will be. It was that in Q1. And China, the best-selling SUV. And the United States, the best-selling non-pickup vehicle in the United States in Q1. So, it's going well. I don't know if this is like the optimal picture, but Tesla cars are actually the safest cars in the world. We put immense effort into vehicle safety. And we keep updating the safety. So we keep improving the automatic emergency braking system just with a software update. And we keep improving the airbag deployment with software updates. So we close the feedback loop on, like when we see an accident, we analyze the accident, and we say, what can we do from a software standpoint? Because there's actually quite a lot you can do to, first of all, avoid the accident, because the best accident is no accident. And then if the accident occurs, how do we deploy the airbags and the sort of the seatbelt pretensioners to minimize the probability of injury? So even for cars that people have owned for many years, we are behind the scenes continuously improving the safety of your car. And there are even some things that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, that we actually have automatic cabin overheat protection. So never in the history of the company has a child or a pet died in a Tesla. Like, so it's one of those like little known features, but because we have a large battery and we're monitoring things all the time, we can make sure that the cabin temperature never gets to lethal levels, and I think that's a big deal. So, oh yeah. So and then while lots of cars will say they've got like 5 stars or whatever, there's nuance to that. When we did the European NCAP sort of active safety tests, we got the highest scores that they've ever seen. So, yeah. So we got a 98% score on the active safety system, which obviously isn't good enough. And we have got a game plan for getting rid of the last 2%. So. And then it's worth noting things like the total cost of ownership of a Model 3 is now comparable to that of a Toyota Corolla. So. Superchargers, we're making good progress. So our supercharger uptime is now 99.95%. So, yeah. And we have superchargers practically everywhere at this point. Going to Megapack, because this is stationary storage is an important part of solving the sustainable energy problem. And the Tesla Megapack is now more competitive than a natural gas peaker plant. So we have very strong demand for the Tesla Megapack, and we're going to make a lot of them. So, yeah. And a while back, I predicted that the Tesla stationary battery pack business would actually grow faster than the automotive side of things, and that's exactly what has happened. You can see it's an exponential curve, growing at a rate that is even faster than our vehicle sales. So, yeah, sorry. We're expanding Gigafactory Nevada for the Tesla semi-production line and for the 4680 in-house cell production. And yeah, some Megafactory stuff. So this is, so we're aiming for 40 gigawatt hours a year, both in California and in China, but I think long term, this will be much, much greater than this. I mean, I would say I wouldn't be surprised if long term the stationary battery pack activity went well in excess of 500 gigawatt hours per year. So the demand is like quasi-infinite here. So. As we look ahead to tackle what we see as the choke points in the supply chain, one of them is lithium refining. I mean, there have been a few times on Tesla earnings calls where I've said, can someone please just do lithium refining? Because there's just a shortage of it. But we really see very little activity outside of China for lithium refining. So it's not that we wish to take on extra problems, but since nobody else was doing it, we felt we had to do this. And so we've just broken ground on a lithium refinery in Corpus Christi, which will be do more lithium refining than I think probably everything outside of China. So, yeah. And we've signed a deal for our next Gigafactory in Mexico, Gigamexico. And I think that's going to be a fantastic factory. So, we're laying the groundwork for ultimately getting to 20 million vehicles a year. Yeah. So Cybertruck is a hard car to make. It's because it's such a radically new design. It actually, you can't just use conventional methods of manufacturing. We had to invent a whole new set of manufacturing techniques in order to build an exoskeleton-based car instead of an endoskeleton-based car. So it's extremely non-trivial to build the Cybertruck. But we're making good progress on that. We have the so yes, that's the thing. When I in the factory, I tour the Cybertruck line to see how we're doing there, and sorry for the delay, but we're finally going to start delivering production Cybertrucks later this year, and I think the product, if anything, is better than expectations. I mean, Cybertruck is the car I will be driving on a day-to-day basis. So, and people always want to know what our next product is. But this is not the time to. We obviously need to have a proper, dedicated product launch. I just want to emphasize that we are actually building a new product. We are actually designing a new product. We're not sitting on our hands here. There are 2 new products that I think you will be very excited about. And both the design of the products and the manufacturing techniques are head and shoulders above anything else that is present in industry. So, yeah, anyways. If I were to guess, I would say of these 2 new products, just these 2 new products alone, I would say we will probably make, obviously this is just Elon's guess, so don't sue me. But Elon's guess is that that will probably make in excess of 5 million units a year of these 2 models combined. So. These are all real, by the way.